First Town Hall. Adam?
Why, thank you, Maureen. For the next hour, News 8 will be putting the facts first, taking your COVID-19 questions, and we have received a lot of them, and putting them to our local leaders. As Maureen said, we have in our studio right now Monroe County Executive Adam Bello and Monroe County Commissioner of Public Health, Dr. Michael Mendoza. So I want to thank you two for joining us. We are at a crossroads in our area. Our infection rate remained notably low for months, and now we're seeing those numbers start to creep up. Just today, there were 66 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Monroe County, and it's of course important to remember that more than 300 people have died from this virus just in Monroe County. A reminder to keep at it. We're going to start this town hall with opening remarks. We're going to begin with County Executive Adam Bello. Mr. Bello.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Adam, and I want to start by thanking everyone here at WROC and Adam Chodak for hosting tonight's town hall, and all of you at home for taking the time to tune in. Our community bought into flattening the curve and slowing COVID-19 spread, and I want to thank everyone for their efforts during these long 7 months. I also want to thank my friend and colleague, Dr. Mike Mendoza, our Public Health Commissioner, and his dedicated team at the Monroe County Department of Public Health for their tireless efforts over the last 7 months. There's a new phrase that's being used by people. It's called COVID fatigue. It's real. We're all sick and tired of this. We're tired of wearing masks. We want to see our loved ones, and we want to be able to enjoy a night out for dinner, go to a concert or a sporting event, and we all want life to go back to normal. Unfortunately, we're just not there yet. We're not through this, and we have to recognize that. We have to acknowledge how far we've come, but we also have to acknowledge how much further we have to go. Let me be clear. We will get back to normal, and that's the good news. This will go away. We just don't know when. Earlier this year, we made a lot of sacrifices. Since March, we've lost over 300 lives in our community. Thousands of people have become sick, and countless businesses have had to close. COVID-19 has impacted all of us in different ways. There are people watching tonight from home who have minimally experienced this pandemic. They've continued to go to work, their kids are back in school, and they've been able to go about their daily business. But there are many others in our community whose entire livelihoods have crashed down around them. They've been sick. Family members have been sick. Perhaps they've lost a loved one, or they haven't been able to see their loved ones. They've been furloughed or lost their job and are struggling to support their families. We cannot lose sight of the cost of this pandemic and cannot lose empathies for our neighbors. Now that we're heading into the fall and winter, we've seen an increase in our COVID cases and our positivity rate. But we know so much more than we did at the beginning. We've learned important lessons and must continue to follow what worked to flatten our curve. We must follow the science. Sitting at home, many of you may be thinking, what does this have to do with me, or what can I do to help? Well, it's what we've been doing as a community. We should be wearing a mask while we're in public, maintaining good social distancing of 6 feet or greater, and regularly washing and sanitizing our hands. And now is the time to get your flu shot. The last thing we need to see in our community is a dual pandemic. Flu shots are available now, and that's how you can contribute to our community health. We've been in this together for 7 months now, and our only way through this is to continue to work together as a community to keep our curve flat. We're at the beginning of another challenging period, but Monroe County is strong, and I am confident in our capacity to keep up this fight, and we will get through this together.
All right, County Executive Adam Bello, we thank you so much for that. We're going to turn this over now to the Public Health Commissioner here in Monroe County, Dr. Michael Mendoza. Dr. Mendoza, you have the floor.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you again to all of the WROC team and to all of our local media for your diligence throughout these difficult and turbulent months. Tonight, we find ourselves in an eerily familiar place. 7 months ago, we were looking ahead to St. Patrick's Day and the spring amidst a new and uncertain threat posed by this novel virus. Today, we are again looking ahead, but this time at Halloween and the holidays, with a very familiar yet very different feeling of uncertainty. In March, as a community, we acted swiftly, canceling the St. Patrick's Day parade, closing our schools, and shortly thereafter closing businesses and our economy as we knew it, entering what by every measure were among the most dark and difficult months in our recent times. To some, we acted too soon. To some, we did not act soon enough. To some, we overstepped, and to others, we fell short. We did a lot of things well, and we learned a lot about how we could have done things better. Although many of us have lost loved ones along the way, and although many of us have lost their jobs and endured threats to our livelihoods, in spite of all that we have sacrificed, here we are, in many ways, lucky to be alive right now. And yet, for all of the comparisons between now and March, we are in a very different place. Today, we know more about this virus. We are better at testing and treating, and a vaccine is on the horizon. We know what precautions to take. We understand the value of masks and of social distancing. We know they aren't perfect. No preventive measure ever is. Yet we know that if we all do our part, we stand a better chance of protecting ourselves and one another and decreasing the chance of needing to take more drastic measures in the near future. For now, although we are seeing an increase in cases, we are not yet seeing a dramatic rise in cases among the most vulnerable among us. And still, there is so much yet to learn. We are working to understand immunity to COVID-19, and we are still researching the long-term effects, if any, of contracting this infection. Most importantly, we know the value of coming together, and we know we can do this. And unfortunately, we cannot quit now. The COVID pandemic is not going away anytime soon, and unlike before, today we are tired. Fatigue with this pandemic is very real. We all want this to be over. We all want to reconnect with our loved ones in the months to come. We all want normal again. But this virus has no empathy, so we must beat it. We beat it by being present with one another, perhaps in new and different ways, and with even greater intensity and gratitude than we have ever had before. We beat it by listening to credible sources, following the science, and putting our preconceived platforms aside. We beat it by asking questions and by listening, so we can find meaning amidst the uncertainty. In this way, seemingly scary facts need not necessarily give rise to fear, but rather to clarity. With these facts, we can each make better decisions about the risks and precautions we will take, with our own needs in mind, ever mindful that we all live in a community where our actions can greatly enhance or undermine the lives and livelihood of our neighbors. For months, our low COVID prevalence rates have allowed us to reopen parts of our economy and our community. We have enjoyed a glimpse of normalcy. We have proven that by coming together, we can achieve among the lowest rates of COVID-19 for large counties in the United States. But as COVID rates rise, as they are now, we can no longer take the same things for granted. What might have been less risky 2 months ago is much more risky today. The precautions we took before will need to be readapted to a new and ever-changing reality, and we can shape what that reality looks like. Our actions today will determine our outcome as a community. We will again be faced with many hard choices, and now is not the time, unfortunately, to be complacent. And so tonight, let's renew our commitment to understanding the facts, and more importantly, let's renew our commitment to one another. We have what it takes to do it again, and I know it will be hard. And I am confident that with continued conversations, we will come through this even stronger and more together than before.
Dr. Mendoza, thank you so much. And again, thank you to County Executive Bello for your opening remarks as well. We're going to get to the question and answer section of all of this right after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. We want to get right to those questions in this News 8 Town Hall. The first question is going to be directed towards Dr. Mike Mendoza. Dr. Mendoza, you mentioned, and this is good news, that the vulnerable population is seeing less when it comes to COVID-19 cases, but we are seeing younger people get it in their 20s. So the question is this: A, is this a college problem? And B, as Paul asked on Twitter, if they are contributing to this, what steps should they take as they go home for Thanksgiving break or for winter break?
Well, overall, we are doing well. We are entering this fall and winter phase with among the lowest rates in our area. And at the same time, we are seeing increasing numbers, particularly among individuals in their 20s. And many of these individuals are college students, but not all of them. But what we do see is a consistent theme of gathering, larger gatherings, more frequent gatherings, and almost universally not using the precautions that we are recommending. And so while we look at the progress that we've made as a community, we need to pay attention to this very important population because they may present further risks to other parts of our community down the road, namely older individuals and people with medical concerns. Now, as for those who are in college, our colleges have really stepped up and have offered lots of guidance to the students, educating them, encouraging them to do the right thing, and they've implemented very rigorous testing procedures, both on their way home as well as for their return. But the most important thing our college students can do are be mindful of the risks that they're taking, whether they're here in our community or at home in their hometowns, to be thoughtful of all of the things they're doing in those 2 weeks prior to their return to our area. You know, those 2 weeks are the most critical because it's during those 2 weeks that they might acquire an asymptomatic infection and inadvertently bring it to our community. And so, as we'll talk about later on, as the holidays come along, when we think about traveling anywhere, we want to be thinking in terms of what are we doing in those 2 weeks prior to our travel, because that's that window of opportunity where we might acquire an infection that we don't want to share with our destination.
All right, Dr. Mendoza, thank you. The next question is for County Executive Bello, and the question is this. You painted the picture of what the economy looks like. You have some people who are continuing to do well, they're working from home. Others are suffering. So what financial assistance programs or help is out there for them locally?
Well, thank you, Adam. And true, the economic health of our community is one of my top concerns right now, as it goes hands in hand with our public health. And in many ways, small businesses in our community are the lifeblood of our economy. They employ an awful lot of residents in our community and are the economic engine that drives and keeps us moving forward. Earlier this year, our small businesses, restaurants, things of that nature made a lot of accommodations and made a lot of changes to their operation in order to stay open. And as we head into these winter months, it's going to be harder and harder for those businesses to be able to make those adjustments to stay open and keep employment going and keep the economy going. So what we've done is last week we announced a $15 million program thanks to the CARES Act funding that Monroe County received to help our small business community, specifically those with employees up to 50 people or less. And the way this grant program works is that for a business that has between 1 and 2 employees, they're eligible for up to a $10,000 grant. For 3 to 25 full-time employees, up to $15,000 grant, and 26 to 50 employees, a $20,000 grant that can be used in a very broad way in order to meet the needs of each individual business so they can continue to operate over the next several months. The application process for those loans or for those grants is still open. It closes on Monday, November 2nd, and you can visit monroecounty.gov, www.monroecounty.gov/fastforward Monroe to see all the full details of that program and for the application. In addition to that, Monroe County has worked collaboratively with Rochester Chamber of Commerce and Greater Rochester Enterprise and Rochester Works to create our employment portal to help link individuals in our community who are looking for employment and businesses that are looking to hire. You can access that portal again through our website at monroecounty.gov, and it's a real great unique partnership to help marry those who are looking and those who are seeking, so we can bring those two together. In addition to that, if there's business owners who are watching the program now as well, earlier this year we helped with the distribution of PPE in order to help our small business community in particular meet those guidelines set up by the state to remain open. And we did that in response to the shortages of PPE that we've seen around not just our community here, but around the country. If you are still seeing shortages of those PPE, that can still be made available to businesses by calling our hotline 753-5555 or our email address covid19@monroecounty.gov.
County Executive Bello, we want to thank you. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to ask the question a lot of you are asking right now. What should you do on Thanksgiving with the family and the friends? That's coming up. Stay with us.